Bo Shri Radhe Shyam. We're continuing here with Manah Shiksha. I've just been relishing the second verse, and we're talking mostly about this dharma, adharma. As we were saying, that nādharmaṁ, śruti-gaṇa-niruktaṁ, kila, kuru, Radha Krishna, prachura paricharyam ihatanu. Sachi sunung nandishvara patisutattve guruvaram mukunda preshtatve smara paramajasram nanumana. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I'll just read his translation because we didn't do that yet. Dharma boli bede jare ete ka prashangsha kore adharma boli aninda jare taha kichu nahi koro dharma dharma pariharo orata nigurha vyapare যাচি মন ধরি তব পায় যে সকল পরিহরি ব্রজভূমে বাস করি রত হও যুগল সেবায় শ্রী সচ্চিদানন্দ ধনে শ্রী নন্দনন্দন সনে এক করি করহ ভজন শ্রী মুকুন্দ প্রিয় জন গুরুদেবে জ্ঞান মন তোমা লাগি পতিত পাবন জগতে প্রকট ভাই তাহা বিনা গতি নাই যদি চাহ আপন কুশল তাহার চরণে ধরি তদাদেশ সদা সরি এ ভক্তি বিনোদ দেহ বল Well, I don't think there's too much in the Bhaktivinoda Thakur here. I'll just translate it through so that you get the idea. It basically is, there's nothing really added here. It says, Dharma boli jare, Veda jare, ete ka prashangsha kore, or Dharma boli aninde jare, taha kichu nahi koro, dharma dharma pariharo ho rata nigurha vyapare. So, he's saying that the Veda glorifies certain activities as being dharmas, and other activities it condemns as being adharma. But do neither of those, reject both dharma and adharma, and fix your mind on the nigurha vyapare, on that which is secret and hidden, that which is the most esoteric. যাচি মন ধরি তব পায় সেই সকল পরিহরি ব্রজভূমে বাস করি রত হো যুগল সেবায়. So reject all those things and go directly to Goloka, Gokula. Go directly to Vrindavan Dham and worship and serve Radha and Krishna there. Prachura paricharyam ihatanu. This idea of prachura paricharyam, we'll get this later. The prachur, expansive, extensive, copious service. It talks about quantity. So he says, I hold your feet, O mind, give up all those things and remain living in Vrindavan Dham, in Braja Dham, and there engage in service to the lotus feet of the divine couple. Sri Sachinandane Dhane, Sri Nandanandana Shane, Eka Kori Koroho Bhajan, Sri Mukunda Priya Jan, Guru Dever Janomon, Sri Mukunda Priya Jan, Guru Deve Janomon Toma Lagi Patita Pavan. So when you do your bhajan, then equate Sachinandan, the son of Sachi, with the son of Nanda Maharaj. And as far as the Guru Dev, know him to be a dear servant of Mukunda who has entered into this world in order to save your fallen soul. Jagate prakota bhai taha bina gati nahi jadi chaho apana kushal tahara charane dhari tad adesha shodashari e bhakti vinod dehobal. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur ends his poem with the emphasis on the Guru, and he's saying that the Gurudev is manifested within this world, and without him there is no hope. So if you really want your own ultimate benefit, then hold on to his lotus feet, remember his instructions, and Bhaktivinoda prays, may the Gurudev give me strength in bhajan. So I was reading from Prem Pattanam because I wanted to just expand on this idea of dharma and adharma. We've been talking about it in the last couple of classes. So here we did several verses from the Bhagavatam, and then after that he continues with the Bhagavatam, quotes 3 verses from the prayers by the gopis in chapter 29 of the 10th canto at the beginning of the Rasa Lila, when Krishna is testing them and trying to send them back by instructing them that you go back for dharma. Your dharma, I already quoted one of these verses, Strinam swadharma iti dharma vidato yoktam. He tells them what is the duty of a woman, a stri dharma. Now, stri dharma, this is one of our problems, you could say, in Gaudiya Vaishnavism in the modern world. The traditional systems of religion and social organization is dharma. So stri dharma is let's say the conservative or the traditional role that women played in society. And that was pretty much universal. I think that you can go to nearly almost every developing civilization, because you have the primitive societies where men and women, although their duties might be divided, the men would go out and hunt, and the women would gather and keep the home fires burning, as it were, take care of the children. So the roles were divided, and that continued on when society developed and became more complex. But in the complex society and the religious systems, which were meant for social organization, the rules that societies developed were coordinated with religious principles, giving the sanction of the deity, giving the sanction of transcendence, giving the sanction of some ultimate authority to organize a society in certain ways. And in the Vedic system, or in the Indian system, you have varnashram dharma. And then you have, within the varnashram dharma, you have the 4 castes and the 4 orders, let's say, of life. And then there are women who follow basically a different set of rules. And those rules are summarized by Krishna in the 10th canto when the gopis come to him, because the gopis are breaking the rules. And they're breaking the rules of Srinam Swadharma. So what the gopis say to Krishna, they're just as the previous verses of the Bhagavatam. So this collection of verses that we see here is very nice, because you see how the gopis exemplify the principles that the Bhagavatam is setting aside, which is exactly what Raghunath Das Goswami is saying, nādharmaṁ, nādharmaṁ. So those 3 verses Prema Pattanam quotes, starting with the very first one, Maivang Vibhor Hasi Bhavan Gaditum Nishangsam. Excuse me, not that one. Yat Patya Patya Suhridam Anuvritti Ranga Strinam swadharma iti dharma vida tvayuktam. Astvevam etad upadesha pade tvayishe preshto bhavan tanubritam kila bandhuratma. You are the real friend. You are the soul of all beings. So we go directly to you. Why should we engage in the secondary acts? In the next verse, the gopis will say that Patisudhadi vir arti daikim. What's the point of serving these temporary relations? They come and go. These are not permanent. The reality is our relationship with you. And these manifest temporarily in the world, and we become attached to these temporary bodies and these people that are passing through our lives, and we hope that they will protect us and give us happiness. In the second canto, Krishna says in one, or not Krishna, but it's Sutta Goswami who's saying, talking to, excuse me, Shonaka is talking here, in the second chapter, third chapter. Atma Shainyeshu Ashatsvapi. I forgot where that verse is. Calls the family Kalatra Adishu. Atma Shainyeshu Ashatsvapi. That they're like, you think that they're protecting you, that they're the foot soldiers who protect your sense of self. Who am I? I'm the husband of such and such, the wife of such and such. All these temporary positions, just like if you identify, I have a job. People do this in the West. You know, who are you? Well, I work for IBM. I work for the federal government. And so you're identified with a particular role, a particular dharma, a particular job. But if you get fired, then who are you? This is why that unemployment is so dangerous, because when people lose their jobs, they lose their identity. At any rate, gopis tell Krishna, our real dharma is to serve you. And there are a couple of other verses that further on in that same 11-verse section, prayers of the gopis, that confirm this. So I'm just going to go over those verses and skip over those verses. The next verse that he quotes is Nahang vipro na cha narapatir napi vaisho na shudro Nahang varni na cha grihapatir na vanasto yatirva Kintu prodyat nikila paramanandamritabde gopi bhartu padakamalayo dasa dasana dasa. This verse is composed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. I wonder, when Krishnadas Kaviraj took the verses that are credited to Mahaprabhu, there are a few others besides the 8 Shikshastaka verses. This is one of the ones that, this one is quoted, of course, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahaprabhu chants this in front of the Jagannath cart at the time of Rath Yatra. But at any rate, Mahaprabhu says, I don't identify with any of these roles of Varna or Ashrama, but I serve. I'm the Dasa Dasanudasa of the supreme ocean of pleasure, the ocean of rasa, that is the lover of the gopis. So here again, the dharmas are being rejected, and the supreme dharma of worshipping the divine couple is being placed above all. Now, I really was interested in Prem Pattanam because several verses are quoted, and I've gone through these verses before, but these are getting now into a little more subtle territory where dharma is concerned. So all the previous ones we more or less No, now here we get into some other things. This is verses taken from Radharasa Sudhanidhi. He quotes 2 verses here. He credits them to Harivangsha. And this is not the place to go into that. Gadadhar Bhatta was a neighbor of Harivangsha. And I assume that because of that they were colleagues and friends. And so here obviously he shows his appreciation for the Radharasa Sudhanidhi, and not only for the Radharasa Sudhanidhi, but for a couple of verses that are somewhat controversial because the Gaudiyas read them in a slightly different way. Anyway, this is from the Radharasa Sudhanidhi, verse 80. Verses 80, 81, or verses 81 and 82 if you follow the Gaudiya Sanskaran, the Gaudiya edition. Kaishorādbhuta madhuri bharaduri nāngachavim radhikam premollasa bharadhikam niravadhi dhyayanti tadadiya. Tyakta karmabhiratmanaiva bhagavad dharmepyaho nirmama sarvascharya gatim gatar samayim tebhyo mahadbhyo namah. It's a very interesting verse from many aspects. I speaking purely as a pedantic philologist, historian, literary critic. And we're interested in the subject, who is the author. Here he says, Tebhyo mahadbhyo namaha. I pay my obeisances to those great souls. This verse is unusual in the Radharasa Sudhanidhi because there's no paying of obeisances to the devotees here. It's all Radha throughout. I think every verse, just like the Vrindavana Mahimamrita, every single verse, more than 1,700 verses in the Vrindavana Mahimamrita, every verse has the word Vrindavana in it. Occasionally, he might use some other equivalent, but I think that he made a rule. I have to put Vrindavana in every verse. And the same thing in Radharasa Sudhanidhi. I'm not sure, I haven't checked, but I think that Radha's name is in every single verse. But it's in this verse also. It starts right at the beginning. Kaishorādbhuta madhuri bharadhuri nāngachavim radhikam. Glorifying Radha, that the sweetness of her form, of her beauty, the ultimate in beauty. It can only be imagined. You take all the beauty that you have seen and you try to distill the essence of that and project it into your imagination and see Radha. So he says that there are certain people who are tadadhiya, whose minds are absorbed in that Srimati Radharani. And so they meditate on her, dhyayanti, niravadi, constantly. With what? With premolasa bharadikam. Well, that's actually an adjective describing Radharani, that she is the more. She is more than the prema bharodlas. This ulas. This word ulasa comes up a lot. Ulasa is the joy that wells up inside you, the ecstasies that arise, the rasolasa. You can see that rasolasa comes together. The boiling up the rising up of ecstasy from within when one contemplates the glorious beauty of Srimati Radharani and the essence of Radharani. Radharani's beauty is a manifestation of her internal prema, that prema ullasa. This is why, understand, I said it before, and some people, this is a difficult point in some ways, the idea of projection. But you can only understand through projection, in a sense. Through meditation, you enter into the deepest aspects of yourself, and you seek out the essence of the self. And when you find that essence of the self, the source of that, your capacity to imagine that, your capacity to project that onto that something which is the source of all things. You follow? You seek in the very essence of your own being the purest and most high ideal of human beauty and love. And then you imagine that as a form. Then you have an idea of what is Radharani. So that is approaching Radha and Krishna not through actually, it's a process of imagination. It's a kalpana. So when we say it's a process of imagination, then people think, oh, well, it's not real, it's false. But that's not true. Because we say that I have seen beauty, I have seen love. And when I saw beauty and when I saw love, it was a flash. But that flash that I saw gave me faith that beauty and love are actually the purpose of creation. That beauty and love, that these things are actually the source of creation. That they would not exist in creation if they did not exist in the idea that preceded creation. And so they exist in their archetypal form prior to creation. They are the seed from which this creation comes. And this creation has the specific purpose of putting the purest prema and the purest beauty in relief. Because you see the negative, you see the ugliness, you see the sin, you see the imperfection, you see death, you see birth, you see old age, you see disease, the dukkha, ashashvatam, brahma bhuvana lokam, dukkamayam ashashvatam. But even in this world of misery, even in this world of suffering, even in this world of sin, there is beauty and love. And are like salmon, like the fish, swimming upstream to find its source. We are also looking to find that source, which is love and beauty in its purest essential form. And that, we imagine it as Radha. We who are sadhakas, we imagine it as Radha. But we are confirmed by the acharyas We are confirmed. This is why here I'm going to say Prabodhananda Saraswati. He's paying his obeisance to Harivangsha. Or maybe it's Harivangsha paying his obeisances to Prabodhananda Saraswati. They had a mutual admiration society going on. Tebhyo mahadbhyo namaha. So, niravadi dhyayanti, they're constantly meditating on Radharani, who is this essential form of beauty and love. And then in the next line, he says, Tyakta karma bhir atmanaiva bhagavad dharmepyo nirmama. So many verses in Radharasa Sudhanidhi follow this same principle, but here it's Tebhyo mahadbhyo namaha. I'm convinced this is Prabodhananda Saraswati paying his obeisances to Harivangsha. But since the poem has been put in the name of Harivangsha, let's say that it's Harivangsha paying his obeisances to Prabodhananda Saraswati. But what does he say? Tyakta. They have been abandoned, karma bhir, by karmas. Now here karma is being taken as the sense of nitya naimitik karma, the duties. Karma here is synonymous with dharma. So they've been abandoned. And here in the commentary, Rasiko Tangsa, he adds the following. He says, Karma bhi samastayar atmana swata eva tyakta natu te swatak karmani santyajanti iti bhava. So, because there's a little confusion with the grammar, he says atmana, by the self, all the karma bhis have been abandoned. Not that the karmas abandon them in themselves. I didn't look at the other commentaries of Radharasa Sudhanidhi to confirm that. But there's always the argument. When you have prem, the bhakti processes that you, and actually all the yoga processes, is all about getting a higher taste. And that the lower taste of material sense gratification, the mixed pleasures of the material world, where one tries to get beauty and love independently from the supreme source. If you love someone, if you see beauty, your appreciation of that beauty and your appreciation of that love comes when you can tie it in through spiritual maturity to the original source. Because every single time you see love and every single time you see beauty, it nourishes your faith in the ultimate love and beauty of the divine person, of the divine couple. And then in turn, your faith and experience, the experience through direct meditation, through direct awareness, aparokshanubhuti, sakshat darshan of the divine couple, informs your understanding of the world, this paridrishyamana jagat. And then that paridrishyamana jagat, you see in all things the love and the beauty. And that's when you see the divine everywhere. It's not that you somehow, that Radha and Krishna, you try to project them onto all things. What you do is you project the love and the beauty. What you do is not project it, but you see it. And then that informs your internal recognition of the divine self within you. And when that happens, then what interest do you have in anything else? So just like in that Tyaktva dharmaṁ charanam bhujang harer bhajana pakvo patet tato yadi tatra kova bhadram abhuta mushya kim. What good arises? What harm arises if you give up all your karmas, but you remain fixed in Radha and Krishna, even if you fall down? Anyway, so he says that, but here this is the actual, what our commentator here is pointing towards. He says, he says that Bhagavad dharmepyaho nirmama. They have no attachment even to the Bhagavad dharmas. This is significant. Anyway, I've reached the 30-minute mark, and I'm going to have to continue on this in another one. I don't want to go over 30 minutes because I tell you, uploading is a chore. It takes a long time. Jai Shri Radha.